Hello and welcome to Connection of the Month. I'm Ted Goldstein, structural engineer with Atlas Tube, and this month we're going to be looking at the fin end plate shear connection for connecting HSS beams to HSS columns. This is a relatively simple connection that offers good capacity, and it's an excellent option if you either need the beam to be completely sealed or if you're connecting to a round column. Let's jump in and take a look. So here I've set up a basic fin end plate shear connection. I've picked some member sizes. We have a 12 by 3 inch by 1/4 inch beam and a 12 inch square by 3/8 inch column. I've gone ahead and added some loads to this connection. So we have 25 kips of total service load, which is not an unusual detailing design requirement for a 12 inch deep beam. And we can see down here we have a graphic that illustrates some of the various parts. So one of the things about this connection compared to some other shear connection is there are some additional pieces required in order to keep the bolting accessible. So we have the shear plate, of course, to the column, and then the fin plate, which brings that to the end plate, which then connects to the beam. So there is a little bit more shop fabrication associated with all those pieces, but there are a couple of benefits that come with that too. As I mentioned earlier, for one thing, you're going to be welding all the way around on the end plate, so you'll be able to seal the beam shut. Additionally, compared to the coped shuriken shear connection that we looked at a couple weeks ago, there's no minimum beam width. So even if you have a very narrow beam, say a 2 inch wide beam, there's still no trouble getting this connection to work. So if we look up at the diagram on the right here and the results, we can see that we're having no trouble getting the capacity that we need. Indeed, if we wanted to go ahead and increase the loads, I'll go ahead and go from 25 kips of total load. Maybe we can go to 35, which is about as much as we might expect to see for a member of this size. We're still relatively close. We're only 8% over, and we can easily address that simply by changing the bolt size, and we're down at 80%. And of course, if we needed to go even higher, aside from the bolt size, there are other parameters that we could change. Now, one recurring theme on the connection of the month is the importance of accounting for the connections before you choose the member sizes in your project. So with this shear connection and all single plate shear connections to HSS columns, one of the things we have to be aware of is the limits on slenderness of the column elements. So in this case, we have a 12 inch square column with 3/8 wall. If we were to go ahead and change that to a 12 by 12 by 1/4, the program is going to throw up an error here. And basically what it's saying is that these connections are only valid for columns with compact walls. Now, obviously, we can go ahead and we can account for that by choosing an element with a compact wall in the first place. But one interesting way you can also deal with that problem is actually by using a round section. So if we go to a round section here, we're going to find, now it's automatically changed it to a 12 inch round section with a 1/4 inch wall. Suddenly that failure up the top has gone away. And the reason for that is that the limitations on slenderness for the round elements are not as strict as those for the squares or rectangles. And so, of course, it's not that very common in construction to use round columns, but there are times if you only have shear connections and if you really want to maximize the efficiency of the member, you don't have things that need to attach to a flat face. This is the kind of connection that could help you use a round column, especially because while the diagram here shows a square, because we're only connecting at a single point, we can come in from any direction and connect to a round column. So a bit of an unusual situation. Usually we do prefer square and rectangular in the construction world, but it just shows that there are certain times when a round column may be the best choice. So that's been the connection of the month. Again, it's been the fin end plate connection. Very simple, straightforward, good option, again, when you have either a very narrow beam or when you need it to be completely sealed, or if you'd like to use a round column with an HSS beam. So thanks for joining us. Hope to see you again next month for the Connection of the Month.